Welcome to Old New Borrowed Blue, a Blue Room show about your favourite things about Everton. Each week I have a guest on and I ask them old, favourite former player, new, favourite current player, borrowed, favourite loan player, because we've had enough of those in the past, and blue, just a favourite Evertonian. Joining me this week is Dave Downie, the man who kicked it all off at the Blue Room. Dave, we will get straight back into it. Who's your favourite former player? Who's your old for this?
I think I've mentioned this quite a bit, only because we got to meet him in person and he come and did a lot with us at the Blue Room. It's Andre Kanchelskis, and I'm glad that I'm first to do this because I don't think I'll be the only person who says that, to be honest with you. But I was 8 years old when he signed for us, which most people will think I'm just lying, given what I look like, given I look like I'm about 65. Yeah, and when he came to us, when you get really giddy when you start supporting a new club, when you start supporting your club, I think your dad feels really proud that you've started supporting properly and you're getting properly into football. And obviously, I remember watching the cup final in '95, and then he came to us after that. I don't think he played in '95 for them, did he? I'm not too sure if he came on.
I can't remember actually. No, I just remember Cantona missed it, didn't he? Because he was suspended because of the
For
karate
volleying
kick.
the fella
Yeah, but just on that day, like,
Palace.
yeah, just on that when he signed, I was thinking about this when you said, and it was one of those where I think he was one of the players, and like I'd say, what the first great United side of the '90s for me, that one that he was in. Um, and can you sort of say what the equivalent would be today? Because for where Everton were, although they were FA Cup winners, we finished 16th. We were relegation fodder in the Premier League. We just were at that point. So to sign a player from the champions, us being Everton, what would you say the equivalent maybe was today? Probably us being Everton now, signing, I don't know, someone from Man City maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question, really, because he was that good. I think I've heard Sir Alex Ferguson mention him a hell of a lot. I've heard many of their players at the time mention him a hell of a lot. He was rapid. He was
Yeah.
absolutely rapid, but he had every other point of a game that you want from, say, a midfielder. He was electric, even at his worst, and probably go on in a second to when he ended up leaving, which I actually started crying when he ended up leaving
I think I
after
did as
that
well.
infamous cup game against Sheffield Wednesday when he let he missed the ball from Chris Waddle, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, it was Bradford.
Sorry, yeah, Bradford, and he
Yeah.
loops it over Southall, was it at
I
the
think
time,
Southall was still in then, yeah.
to put us out, and then that was it. Really, it looked like he was out of interest to us for a certain amount of time. But yeah, that's an excellent point. Really, who you compare him to. I don't know if I'll get slated for this, but I think modern day type of play, you'd look at somebody like Jack Grealish, or who City have got these days, Doku, who looks outstanding, where he's
Yeah.
happy to pick the ball up deep. He'll sprint down the line and cut inside. I think Kanchelskis was probably right along those sorts of things.
Yeah,
So
that was my thought. I think Grealish in profile, certainly, because he was that high profile player. Yeah, Doku in the way he plays.
yeah, I think you're right. But I think these days it's more of a common trait that you get in players that what he did, but he looked very revolutionary when he played, particularly when he came to us. At United, I don't think he was ever going to be considered as their best player. I think if you were to ask a United fan, I don't think they put him up there as either a Champions League standard player, maybe a Champions League standard player, but certainly you weren't bothered about him too much for winning the title. You didn't require him too much, but I think looking on as someone who doesn't support Man United, you'd still really appreciate him given what we were like back in that day.
Mm.
With winning the cup as well, it was a really interesting way we were able to get him. And if you read his book, I'd implore anybody to read his book. It's absolutely brilliant. And he talks about that he was on the verge of signing for Middlesbrough
Yeah.
to the point where he was there, ready to sign, and then we came in for him. And I think he sort of says that he comes to Everton because obviously he's living in and around the northwest, so it was much easier for him to come to Everton. We were throwing in the same amount of money as Middlesbrough did, so it was like Alex Ferguson didn't really care about it as long as he got the same amount of money. So it was like, okay, fair enough. Do you want to go there? I also think as well at the time. I mean, we had to keep saying it, but one of my biggest honours interviewing him. Me and Matt did. You do get a feeling that he embraced the club as soon as he came, and I think that's a rarity, certainly for a foreign player at the time.
Mm.
You'll know that as much as me, like supporting Everton from an earlier period. Foreign players weren't as common as what you used to see, and he's the type of thing that revolutionised that in those
Mm.
mid-90s. But yeah, I mean, when he first came, I think the first match I seen him, we were playing Sheffield Wednesday. I think it was Tuesday night, Wednesday night at Goodison, and he scored 2 goals. We went 2-0 down because of Mark Bright. I think he scored a couple of goals. We went 2-0 down at half time. So I was sat next to my dad, and I was like, "Yeah, we're not going to win this, are we, Dad?" You know, as a young lad, thinking, "Yeah, I'm going to start crying in a minute because you're being crap." Where's Kanchelskis? I'm sure he come on off the bench actually, and obviously played on the right side, and he ripped Sheffield Wednesday apart, and we ended up drawing the game 2-2. He scored both, and you know that when you're younger as a fan and you get that, I suppose it's naivety, but it's also a romantic way of starting your sort of journey with a football fan. I remember looking at him every single time, and the physicality of him. He didn't move like other players did. The way he did, he didn't exactly attack us with a certain amount of swagger. But when he got the ball, it was head down, sprint around whoever's in front of me, decent cross, cut inside shot. And I think it was 96, 97 where he was. No, it wasn't. It was when we ended up finishing just behind Arsenal to qualify for Europe. We finished sixth, I think.
He finished sixth. They finished fifth. That's when the Premier League got the place taken off it because Spurs and Wimbledon had fielded um, weakened sides in the newly formed Intertoto Cup. Rest in peace. So another
Yeah.
European bound for the Toffees there. No fault of our own.
But I'm going to test you because you were saying you needed to do your research on this. I think he either scored 16 or 18 goals in that season. And that was when I thought, how have Everton got to this standard with a player like this?
Yeah.
Thought he wouldn't stay for as long at the time, which is ironically what I think about good players it was these days. But yeah, he was. I fell in love with football just because of him, and I'll always treasure him. And when we got to interview him as well, obviously his English isn't completely great, but yeah, me and Matt interviewing him in the tower. I don't even know he ended up coming up, and we were like, "How on earth is this Andre Kanchelskis?" But yeah, sorry, go on.
I was going to say that's probably how Joe Rowe felt in '95, wasn't it?
Exactly when he walked into the room. But yeah, he's someone will always be in my heart as the main player that started me with Everton, really, and falling in love with him. And I don't think I could really think by memory from then. And I'll go on to that with the different questions you've got here. But yeah, I don't think I've ever been that sort of feeling towards a player. I think we've had the great one. I say greats. Lukaku signing a permanent deal I was buzzing about. All that sort of thing doesn't even get close to what it was getting Kanchelskis back then.
Yeah, I think anyone who was around then and saw him would feel exactly the same. One more frustration from me about his signing, it was really massively delayed. I expect this is touched upon in the autobiography, but for me, he missed the cut-off for the European campaign, didn't he? So I think we got beat 1-0 by Feyenoord.
Yeah.
0-0 at home, they beat us 1-0 away. Had he played in those games, we'd have beaten them without a doubt. And you just think, the momentum that could have given us in Europe for that European campaign, just another little frustration there.
Well, the other ironic thing was he done his leg in when he first signed.
Oh, he did, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he came in and remember him playing in the first game in August. I think it was obviously just as we got him. And at that time as well, I think you see it more often these days. I don't know what you think about this. I've never really thought in talking about it. When players come in and wear a t-shirt, like the t-shirt version, the short sleeve version of the kit, and it was the first time I ever saw him when he first started, and he wore a short sleeve top. I can't remember him ever doing that again for us. It always felt like it was always long sleeve.
It was always long sleeves, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so he didn't even look the same as what he did. But then when he did his leg in, I was like, when are we ever going to see this sort of prodigy who's done so good at Man United? He's won leagues. I think he was our record signing when we got him in initially. Yeah, there's such an emotional feeling I have towards him. And then, like I said to you, it was horrible the way it ended.
Yeah,
I think we spoke about the Bradford game in the FA Cup, and they were league below. I think maybe he was
I
certainly
think
winning the
so.
Premier
Maybe
League,
even two.
and he
I
gave the
think
way
we're
to
one.
Chris Waddle. And at that time, Les, I think that many people were not sort of having an opinion that they thought he was going to go immediately. It did feel that way, though.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he down tools, but there was a feeling that that's it for us. And then he obviously went to Fiorentina quite quickly.
yeah. I think that was sort of a symptom of the whole feeling around the club at that point because
Yeah,
Joe Will left not long after. It felt like, and again, it's the sliding doors thing with not qualifying for Europe that season.
yeah,
It felt like had we done that, we could have kicked on. But that season, then the wheels really did feel like they were coming off. We went out to Bradford. I said Joe Royle left not long after.
yeah,
Suddenly, we find ourselves like, in that position again. And within a year, we're fighting relegation on the last day. So
yeah.
we don't do things by halves, do we? Let's move it on to the current day then. Again, the Toffees feel like we're in a very similar situation to where we were in the late 90s. Who's your favourite current player in that squad? It's nice, actually. It's just nice that we can have a favourite current player now, isn't it? Because I think we were calling them a gang of shitbags about 12 months ago. So,
I was going to say, mate, you go just over a year ago. I don't think it'd be easy to answer this question. Excuse me, but I don't think I'll be the first person to say this. In fact, I was going to ask you before we started this, what you're going to do when, like, a lot of people will have a similar view on. I certainly think some people will say Kanchelskis, just as a guess. I think some people will say the man I'm going to say now. I don't think the third one that I've got. I'm not too sure too many go for that. But anyway, we'll crack on. Mine is Jared Branthwaite, and I was doing a piece with a Manchester City journal the other day, and he was asking about who makes the difference for Everton, and I said it was him. Now, I think people with that question in mind would certainly not think of him immediately. They'd talk about him how good he is as a centre back,
yeah,
but what he did immediately as well, which I think a lot of City fans do and a lot of our fans do, is compare him to John Stones. I don't think he's anything like John Stones in many ways. I agree, but obviously the obvious things are there: his age,
yeah,
his sort of profile. He can use the ball. Those are the sort of things John Stones can do. He doesn't strike me as a player who's going to pick it up at centre back and start running up into midfield. I mean, it's even like they play John Stones near the midfield these days, sort of
yeah,
that six sort of role at times. But with Branthwaite, I actually think the rarity that we have with him is we let him go on loan somewhere to start, you know, him finding what his trade was. And he come back and he hit the ground running straight away. He wasn't included in the side on purpose because which one was it? Michael Keane that was injured at the time. He came in. We knew you knew bits and pieces of him before he went over to PSV for the loan. But this lad, and again, I might get slated for this, Les. I don't think he's going to be long at our club unless we make Europe, like you said there, similarly to Kanchelskis. His his style of play is a rarity. I think it's
mm,
not often you get a 6'4", 6'5" centre back who can move with the ball and who is lightning quick. I mean, he is a rapid. If you
yeah,
watch him against that Fulham game, and you've got like a Wobie who's quick as we know, Willian for them, Wilson for them, really quick lads. He sprinted past them to win the ball back, and that sort of thing. Whenever we had that, it's a. I can't think of anybody like that. Maybe Jagielka, he was quite pacey, but not as fast as him. And when I watch him, again, really rare to see an Everton defender who you think we've got a decent chance here of keeping a clean sheet. Because him alongside Tarkovsky, which I think is a big help as well to have Tarkovsky alongside him. He's he's a rarity. He's a real rarity because of what he can do. But somebody who's so comfortable on the ball as well. He picks it up. And then, of course, we've seen him play as a top class left back as well because Mikalenko was injured. So he's the full package, and
yeah.
sadly, I don't think he's going to be long with us unless we magically become a Champions League side.
Yeah, I think anyone with a bit of realism will think he's probably going to be one of the next to go, and we will get big money for him. As you say, he's got everything. Don't want to go overboard here, and it might sound overboard, but hear me out. When you describe him there, big lad, quick,
Yeah,
loves to tackle, left-footed. I'm thinking Kevin Ratcliffe there. That's exactly what Kevin Ratcliffe was.
Really?
Yeah, so his big thing was his pace. So him and Ian
Yeah.
Rush used to have like they had this big rivalry because they were both fast as fuck, basically. And yeah, Kevin Ratcliffe's big thing with him was his pace, and he was left-footed. So it's it's very much like that, and you can't underestimate the rarity of a really good left-footed centre back. It brings that balance, doesn't it? So you've got Tarkovsky playing on the right, bit older, more experienced, does all the hard work, the headers and that. He's all right on the ball, but then you got Branthwaite next to him, left-footed, quick, good on the ball, does all the hard work himself. That's a really good centre back pairing.
Well, the other side of things as well is getting him in because come from Carlisle, didn't he?
He'd only played 9 games for them.
Really?
Nine
I mean,
season
you
games.
can go as far as being cynical to say it was jammy that we got someone in who's that good. I don't get the impression that we were sending down a lot of scouts thinking, yeah, this player is going to be a world class centre back.
Yeah.
I think that's more by
Do,
accident than it is
do you
by
remember?
creation.
Do you remember his debut?
Who was it against?
Wolves. He ballsed up in like the first 30 seconds of playing for Everton. We conceded. So I
What was
think
that season before last? Is it?
that would have been around 2020, something like
So it
that.
would have been COVID
It
year.
could have been, yeah. I think it was, or just before, or something. But yeah, very first thing he did in a game, messed up and Wolves scored. But
But obviously that also reflects Les on what he's got about him to be able to overcome that at the age which would have been what
yeah, he'd come on
19.
as sub. Yeah,
Yeah, to be able to do that, I don't know. I suppose quite ironic for many players who made their way during COVID times. You haven't got a load of fellas around you booing you all over the place,
yeah,
or that sort of pressure you'd be on wherever you were. But yeah, it's with a tinge of regret here because I don't think he stays at Everton long.
no, I was lucky enough to see his only goal for Everton so far as well.
I
Uh,
didn't even know he'd scored.
that 1-1 draw down at Chelsea, probably Benitez's
Oh, of
final
course it
word.
was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, good away end that as well. It was,
He seems his attitude as well. Just one thing I wanted to add to him. Les seems a quiet lad. Seen him
yeah,
interviewed a couple of times. Seems to have the personality that will really kick on in here. You've seen him thrown in the England squad with Southgate. Always seems to be sitting in the main stand, and I take it he's the main player. He's going to become to Goodison to watch. Not so much he needs to watch much of Pickford because he's the England #1. Doesn't need to sit there and watch how well he plays.
yeah,
I think he's the main lad he's going to be looking at when he comes to any of our matches. And I could certainly see him going to the Euros in the summer.
yeah, yeah. Be well deserved as well.
Yeah.
Just before his £125 million move to Man City. Right on that bombshell, we will move on to your next one. So borrowed. This is your favourite loan player. Who's that then?
Mine again is one that I think I don't know. You can answer this question. When do you think it'll be a popular call from many of the
I
others who are
think
doing this show?
I think it will, but I'd completely forgotten that he was on
Yeah,
loan. To be
that
honest,
he initially came on loan. Yeah,
yeah,
and it was that magical first season when Martinez came in and we thought we were invincible and
I,
you
I
know
give him some stick, but he did very little wrong that first summer and that first season. Did he? Everything went right, really.
yeah. I think I was looking at it. He came in at 31 or 32. Obviously, I'll say his name first. It's Gareth Barry. I've chosen, and he came in on the day when everyone come out with that meme of "Do you want to come in on loan, lad?"
Yeah,
And it was him, Lukaku, and McCarthy came in last day. And I thought you're getting in somebody who's steady Eddie. City didn't want him. You well to say City doesn't want him, a bit of an insult really, but City were happy to let him go,
yeah.
given what they were doing in sort of they wouldn't start winning trophies. They were more than happy to go in with somebody else. It was that more of a creation. I think it was with was it Mancini who's still there. I think it was him
He
or
was, yeah. Was it
yeah, it was him or
Pellegrini?
Pellegrini. I think it was
Yeah,
Mancini anyway. And you've got to a point where you're getting a really experienced player. I remember actually watching him at Aston Villa in his younger years, and he plays as a left back there. He was the captain too,
yeah.
and I looked at he's a big lad as well. I think not enough people give him the credit of that, or it's certainly something you don't look at immediately. He was a big lad, particularly at left back. At City, at Villa for years, they all loved him and adored him. And then for him to leave there was a bit of a surprise. He ended up at City, which they were that was when Sven was there, I think, when he went there, and that year City just started signing a ridiculous amount
Yeah.
of players,
Well, just before that, Liverpool were like mad keen
big
on
in
him,
for
weren't they?
him.
But Benitez
That
was
was
like,
it. There was a massive argument between Xabi Alonso and
yeah,
him coming in,
yeah,
and I think Benitez, when he was there, was fuming that they didn't get Gareth Barry. But then obviously when Xabi Alonso goes in there, we have to admittedly don't want to talk too much about it, but the lad turned into a world class player, didn't he?
yeah,
But with Gareth Barry coming in, I thought you're bringing in somebody you just want somebody who can receive the ball from at the back, and it became quite clear quite quickly why Martinez brought him in because he was happily as a ball carrying midfield player who could play anywhere in that six or even like a four role in the side when he came in. He'd happily received the ball from the back. I mean, it become a bit of a cliche, didn't it, with Everton under Martinez, and he just looked so calm on the ball. The reference to City, I think there was obviously a lot of that. They had the most possession in games. Obviously winning title. They won the title by then, hadn't they? With that ridiculous goal in
yeah,
the last minute from Aguero. Um, and when he came to us, I think a lot of people underrated him. Certainly because we got Lukaku at the time as well. Then he come in and he seemed to be the way in which when we got a goal kick, it always seemed to be him who collected the ball, and he looked for a pass anywhere in front of him, anywhere, either way. And it takes a lot of that position when you think about it. Like, there's a lot of
yeah,
responsibility to that. And he seemed cool as it gets when he received the ball. Happy to jog forward a little bit too. He was ideal for what Martinez wanted, and that particular season, that's the season that got us all really giddy again, didn't it? And we're
yeah.
going to go on and get into Champions League after infamously Ken Wright says that. When you see Martinez sitting
That
next to him
Martinez
saying,
sweating.
"Yeah, hang on, what did you say that for, mate?" It certainly wasn't spoken about before they did that presser. It was pretty obvious that didn't happen. But yeah, Gareth Barry to me it epitomised that great first year. It
Yeah,
epitomised what we tried to play like, and I always felt a little bit of the same regret. I'd have loved him 3 or 4 years before that.
yeah. I think for me, he's one of those players who you don't really appreciate until he plays for your club. So
Mm.
as you say, he was that sort of steady Eddie, wasn't he? You could give him the ball, he'd just knock it easy. Like he'd also like clear up at the back as well. He had famously one of the first things he did with that tackle on Samuel Eto'o in the Chelsea game,
That's right, yeah.
which was, I mean,
He'd
if
be his
any,
best mate when he came in.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think if anyone hasn't seen that, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure everyone has, but go back and have a look at it because it just gets better every time you see it. It was ridiculous. It was a nailed on goal for
Yeah.
Samuel Eto'o. But
Other,
yeah,
other side of that, Les, just before we move on with him, I think he really helped with how John Stones matured
yeah, as a shout.
because possessionally, like I say, we'd have the ball a hell of a lot, certainly a hell of a lot more. Because I'm banging on about it all season. What we do these days and not have the ball much, but obviously with Martinez, I get the impression, or certainly he said these things that since he left Everton, he said about keeping the ball and controlling possession, and then attacking from positions where you had the ball longer. Some of that become really annoying, didn't it? You look
Yeah,
at second and third year when we finished 11th. That was really, really irritating. But Gareth Barry was there. He certainly wasn't somebody you blame about that.
no, not at all. No, he was, as you say, he was perfect for that role, and it's
Yeah.
it's something Martinez should have built on. But as he sort of got his claws more and more into the team, it just got worse. Anyway, we will move on from that little downer. On to your final one. This is the blue category. So just your one of your favourite Evertonians.
Yeah, I was looking at this when you first invented the show we're doing now, and it surprised me how many Blue fans are out there. Certainly, many that people wouldn't be aware of, like Judy Dench. I was like,
Yeah.
I love Judy Dench as an actress. I was like, but it's because she's the ambassador for, I think, it's the ambassador for Everton community,
Oh,
or
okay.
was,
Yeah.
yeah. Which I've no idea why. If that's the case, or indeed it's just a myth. We'd have certainly seen it as an Everton community, some sort of
You
thing
would have thought
anyway.
so.
Yeah, Jodie Comer was the other one I considered too, again for obvious reasons. How amazing she is as an actress. I think that's because her dad still works at the club.
Yeah, he's a masseur,
Um,
isn't he? I think.
He's what, sorry?
He's a masseur at the club, I think.
Mature, really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think obviously, I don't know if she's like properly a blue and she's come out and said I go to every game. I just think the assumption's there because her dad works at Everton. There are loads of the cute, Amanda Holden as well. Anyway, so I moved on to a more sort of sporting, voice. Who I think's a massive Evertonian because he speaks about it a lot when he's in his sort of in his commentary role these days. And mine is John Parrott.
Yeah.
John Parrott again. I think will be a rare choice. I'm sorry for everyone else who's doing theirs after me and just predicting what they're going to say, but I certainly don't think it'd
I
be
think you're
John
right with
Parrott.
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with him, obviously a Scouser. I love snooker as well, by the way. I don't think, obviously, don't get much chance, or if any, to talk about snooker on any
Knock
of the
yourself
shows.
out now, Dave. Go ahead.
On any of the shows we go, any of the shows we do, and I love snooker. I just think there's a monotony to it. There's just a steady feeling of playing a sport that I think is much more strictly mental than anything else you do. And I love playing it as well. I've always played snooker since I was a young lad. And John Parrott, again, I'm going to refer to Bootle as you always enjoy me doing, Les. And we go and watch him before we went to George Jerry's. But he won the world title in 92 or 91. I think it probably was 91. I don't know if you got it round yet. And that was the only time he won it. But he was a top class world champion. And I think it's not as much as the modern players like Judd Trump or Ronnie O'Sullivan do these days.
91.
91.
Yeah.
You should see the look at him by then, by the way. He was probably similar to how you look these days, Les, I think. But it used to happen. Well, my dad used to say that anyway, and I think I was just getting around about that age because I was born in 87, so I was only 4. Similar to 95 when we won the FA Cup. And really getting into snooker because my dad was snooker and pool mad. When I was old enough, I was allowed to go and watch him, obviously in a boozer. And he didn't play much snooker in those days. He was playing pool a lot. But I properly got into snooker, Stephen Hendry years, Jimmy White.
Yeah.
That sort of era before O'Sullivan came along and just dominates it like he does to this day. With this day, I think it's similar to what we've spoken about in the past, where modern day footballers don't really do any sort of media when they've finished. You get like Carragher, Neville, but it's not easy to go, like the thing that's happening with Jagielka. You don't see much because they don't need the money. It's as simple as that. They don't need to continue doing stuff, maybe for fun or charity. But it's not easy for us to give somebody a bell and say, listen, mate, can you come on? Certainly in the last 10, 15 years, because they don't need to do it.
Yeah.
John Parrott, though, really friendly guy. I've met him quite a few times. He loves playing golf as well. So I've seen him on the golf course quite a lot. But what I was going to say was, with the sort of circuit he used to do, he become really popular because when he was the world champion. So he used to go on tour to various boozers in and around, and he'd always bring his trophy with him, and he'd set up like just amateur little tournaments and stuff like that. Or I think you could pay to play against them, which is you could do that these days under like Ronnie O'Sullivan. And it was a place called the Coral, the pub where I seen him. And it became O'Reilly's, and today it's called something different. And anytime I walk in there, I always look over at the table where I watched him play. And when you go into a pub, I say there'd be like about maybe 100 fellas and women who were standing around watching him play. And he'd play a few trick shots and stuff like that. But because he was a Scouser mainly and a world class of what he did, that's why I sort of fell in love with that, someone in a sport that I really enjoyed playing. And I think, compared to I was speaking about then, I think it'll be a rarity for anybody else to mention him. And now he does obviously work with the BBC and, well, any channel that covers all of the tournaments these days. And you'd always now and again hear him say, how did Everton get on? Because when the World Championship starts, it starts on a Monday. And obviously these days you can play any night of the week the way we are. When it's on a Saturday, he always says it live on air. How did Everton get on? So I think he's someone that's done where we're from. Really proud at the time, and he's a really nice guy. If you ever get the chance to meet him,
100%. So I have sort of met him. you took us back to brutal, so let me take you back to the 90s. Back to that cup winning side of 95. Everton go away as cup holders to Port Vale, 1996. John Parrott sat about 2 rows down from us, and my dad's mate has just eaten a pasty, balls up a piece of paper and pings it off his head and shouts in off the white. Oh my God.
Mate, that's
Why,
made my day, and you
why would
say
you
that,
do that?
I'm
But
going to
yeah,
ring my dad and say my dad's not well. I'm going to ring him and say that to him, and he'd be absolutely buzzing that you just told that story.
so
That's
that's
when we drew against Port Vale, didn't we? And then went away to them. And I remember John Ebrell scored
yeah.
a really good goal after they'd, like 30 seconds after they'd scored to make it level. I think we won 3-2 that game. But yeah, he's a
Oh
massive
no, they
blue.
knocked us out. They won 2-1.
Did he? And that was that.
Port Vale knocked us out. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
I think I think we had a similar game against Stockport around then as well, but we won
Yeah.
3-2. I think.
That's the one. Yeah, I'm thinking of the wrong side there. Those were the days when we could easily go out against any set, like the Tranmere one, which becomes so infamous. But yeah, to finish the comments on him, yeah, John Parrott, top fella, top blue.
Good shout. Yeah, I think 4 good choices there, Dave.
Cheers, mate. Thank
Nice
you.
one for that. So
I'd
yeah,
like to. I can't wait to see. I know you're doing Mr. Boylan soon, aren't you? So
he's
it'd
up
be
next.
interesting. Well, he's a lot younger than both of us.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're ancient, but I'm slightly less ancient. It feels like Paddy's about 12, doesn't it? So it'll be
Paddy's
really
shiny and
interesting.
you, yeah. See
Yeah,
what
so I think my choices won't be anywhere near what he says, apart from maybe Branthwaite and Gareth Barry. But I think he'll try to think away from into something that's different to what everyone else is going to say. So I can't
well,
wait to see what he says.
yeah, you and everyone else will be able to find out in the next episode.
Yeah,
Cheers for that, Dave. Nice one.
no problem, mate.
See you
Loved it.
later.